This is DSN TV, showcasing the ability in disability, proudly brought to you by the PA people.
Okay, and on Showcase this week, on episode 6, we're talking JobAccess, one of the great agencies I've come across myself in my workplace, and that a lot of people don't know about. So we want to get the word out there and get more people involved with this. So this week we've got on the show Nicola Tuckwell, from manager at JobAccess. So welcome, Nicola.
Hi, thanks a lot, Troy, and thanks for letting me have the opportunity to talk to you.
Great. Okay, so let's get straight into it. What does JobAccess do?
So we're a call centre and we cover all of Australia, but we're actually based in Perth. And JobAccess is an Australian government initiative, and we provide free information and advice, and we have professional staff who offer practical workplace solutions for people with disabilities as well as their employers, and we also talk to the disability employment service providers involved as well. Part of what we also do through JobAccess is administer the Employment Assistance Fund, and that provides financial assistance for equipment and modifications, as well as services in the workplace, so that people with disabilities can perform all of their duties as productively as possible.
Right, okay. So your staff are well trained up on all the different types of disabilities, are they?
Yes, they are. So the professional staff that we have on are all allied health professionals, and we're very familiar with all sorts of disability types. I suppose the key ones that we tend to get applications from are the deaf community and those that are hard of hearing, as well as people who are blind or have low vision, as well as those with physical-based disabilities, and that would, for example, include spinal cord injuries, cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, as well as the rest. And then to a lesser extent on the numbers of applications, but it doesn't mean we don't have the skills and abilities, is those with intellectual difficulties and mental health conditions. We actually have a psychologist who works with us who provides a lot of assistance and support to individuals and also employers when dealing with mental health conditions and the impact that they might have in the workplace.
Wow, okay, so lot there, and you've got a good variety there of the disabilities. So let's look at the nuts and bolts. So what can you do for employees?
All right, so I suppose what we're here for is to help them with any of their queries and questions around the support and funding that's available to them in the workplace, so that we can make sure that they're working to their maximum productivity, as well as the ways and means of removing any sort of barriers that they might have in the workplace through a workplace assessment and the Employment Assistance Fund. I suppose some of the more common questions we get from employees or job seekers are things like, how do I actually apply for a job? How do I get linked in with a disability employment service provider? Am I eligible for the Employment Assistance Fund? And if I am, can you either help me put the application on or tell me where the link is on your website? We get that one a little bit. And I suppose we also direct people to the information that's actually on our website. There's a huge amount of information there, including things like, how to search for a job and keep that job, how might you prepare for and attend a job interview, and how to disclose disability information to an employer.
Wow, okay. What we'll do now is we'll just have a look at one of your clips, generally about the organisation.
Great.
I'm Louise Pearson. I'm a social worker by training, and I work for MS Australia.
My name's Caroline Brown. I work for Australia Post. I ride a motorcycle and I deliver mail.
My name's Hoi Nguyen, and we're at the Makeshift Studio, which is run by my organisation, Enable Development. We're currently focused on training for organisations and people to make their place or workplace more inclusive and accessible. JobAccess has provided me with assisted devices such as my wheelchair, which is built for travelling and work, and a height adjustable table.
JobAccess is a free national service. It's expert information and advice on any matters relating to the employment of people with disability. The primary users of the JobAccess service are job seekers or employees themselves with either disability or mental health issues, employers, and also service providers.
We've streamlined our processes with the support of JobAccess to enable interpreters to come in on a regular basis so that we can improve communication for our employees and our managers.
I've had dealings with JobAccess for some years now. They've provided me with JAWS, which stands for Job Access with Speech. It will read to me what you see on the screen.
We've had a very stable management and professional advising team at JobAccess for many years. It means that the knowledge sharing and the advice and support they're able to provide to employers and people with disability is very consistent in terms of what adjustments, what modifications, what works in what different work environments.
Most recently, they've provided me with a fantastic device called a Braille Sense U2. It can read spreadsheets, it can do email, so it's fantastic because I'll be in a meeting, documents are being handed out, I could then open them up and have a look at them with everyone else.
The JobAccess program has received a United Nations award. In addition, it was identified as one of the world's 10 best innovative policies around the employment of people with disability at the Project Zero conference.
The chair which I'm using that's provided by JobAccess is very specialised for my line of work, which is to do a lot of travelling and getting to remote places. And these places are very challenging in terms of accessibility. Infrastructure is not really built.
It's really important and beneficial for the communities to see someone like Hoy, because then they also get to see not only someone who is taking the time to think about people with disabilities in those communities, but also they get to see someone with a disability getting out there and being really independent.
The most satisfying part of my role is not only seeing our managers feel confident and supported and engage people with disability, but our employees feeling included, feeling enthusiastic and talking about Australia Post as a great place to work.
JobAccess has had a fantastic track record of service delivery as evidenced by the people who use it. Our hope for the future is that all employers in Australia know that this service exists for them.
I absolutely would recommend JobAccess. It's a fantastic scheme. It's something that's going to make people more able to function in their workplace, and if they're at all like me, it helps to decrease the gap that exists between people who are working in the organisation without disabilities and those who have them.
I would definitely recommend JobAccess to others in a similar situation, especially self-employment, because it really accelerates, I suppose, the goals that we set out to achieve, and it really is an enabler to be able to establish work for yourself.
The wider community still has a lot of learning about people with disabilities, and we've got a long way to go, but we're heading in the right direction, and the funding that we get from JobAccess is making it a lot better for deaf people within the workplace. Look, my frustration disappeared by having the interpreters in, and it's definitely made me happier.
Anybody that wants to employ anybody with a disability, give them a go, because at the end of the day, their success is your success.
JobAccess is your one-stop shop for disability employment advice and support. From the self-employed to Australia's largest companies, JobAccess and the Employment Assistance Fund benefits thousands of Australians every year. For free expert advice, call 1800 464 800 or visit jobaccess.gov.au.
Okay, next question I've got for you is, so we've looked at the employee side of it. Let's flip the coin. Let's look at the employers. What can you do for employers?
Well, so I suppose for employers, it's about providing information and advice and linking them to the assistance and support that they might need for their staff with disabilities in the workplace. And not everyone who has a disability is going to need assistance and support. Plenty of people manage just fine, but when someone does, that's where we can help them either get in touch with the organisations such as the Disability Employment Service providers who can provide some assistance, or we talk to them about the Employment Assistance Fund and what it can provide to them. So it might mean getting an assessor to come into the workplace, look at what the barriers are and think about what some of those solutions might be. And that could be equipment, software, building modifications or adjustments or modifications to the work-based vehicle. It could be that someone needs funding to access Auslan interpreting, or they might need or benefit from some awareness training, and that could be generic disability awareness training, mental health awareness training, or deafness awareness training. And then we can also provide some funding for one-on-one support from specialists, particularly helping people who have learning disorders or mental health conditions, so that they just get some of that extra sort of mentoring or counselling, or maybe training the manager in some alternative learning techniques for someone who might have difficulties around learning or some intellectual challenges that is impacting them in the workplace. So, the sort of questions employers ask us are things like, how can I assist my employee in the workplace? As I'd sort of indicated before, we do get quite a few calls about concerns for staff who have mental health conditions and how they might be able to best support them and what sort of resources are available. We also get questions around how they might employ someone with a disability, how they go about it, and what sort of wage subsidies are available to them. And like with the employees that call us, we can also direct employers to the information that's on the website. And I suppose as a snapshot, that might include things like strengthening your business by employing people with disabilities, what is a reasonable adjustment, and we've also got quite a lot of case studies, so not just the videos, but actually written case studies showcasing some of the solutions at work.
Well, I think that's really good. It's an avenue I haven't seen before. Like, I've seen some of these funding places around in the New South Wales state government, that type of stuff, but they've never looked at it from the employer's view. It was always the employees. So I think this is a great step forward, covering both bases and helping out the people that do want to go forward and looking for disabled people to be employed and making a better working environment. I think that's a really good avenue you're looking at there. So.
That's right. I suppose, we know that it should be simple to employ people with disability, and we believe that employers want the right person in the right job and at the right time, and we want to be able to make that as simple as possible for everybody.
Well, you mentioned providers. What type of providers are you linked to?
So when we're talking about providing either assistance in the workplace or assistance to find a job, in most scenarios that's going to be the Disability Employment Service providers that are in the individual's locality. So they also have contracts with the Australian government to provide assistance. And so we let people know who might be around. We might give them a couple of names and phone numbers so they can go and have a talk to them and work out who they might work best with. We also use what we call the National Panel of Assessors, and that's as part of the Employment Assistance Fund. And they, sorry, my phone is going off. They, so I'll go back to that. We link into the National Panel Assessors as part of the Employment Assistance Fund, and they're our eyes and ears in the workplace. So they're either allied health professionals, mostly occupational therapists, but also technicians that specialise with equipment for people who are blind and low vision, and they complete the workplace assessment for us and then provide us with their objective professional opinion of the equipment or services that would best remove barriers in the workplace for us to be able to then discuss with the individual and the employer to provide the funding for them.
We actually had one of your providers on the second edition of Showcase. We had Chris Waller.
Oh, yes.
And he's one of the providers. So, that's one of the ways I found out about you guys. So, no, it's really good. So, look,
we've worked with Chris for a long time.
Oh, very good, very good. So what we'll do is now, you've got me a clip on a story about Louise. We'll play that now. Is there anything you want to introduce to that video at all?
I suppose Louise we've assisted Louise across a number of years, and I think she identifies that in the video. But it's just really looking at through being able to access the appropriate equipment that people can be as productive as anyone else in the workplace, and that there shouldn't be any barriers because someone has a disability. And it's looking at what people can do versus what they can't.
Okay, we'll look at that now.
Thank you.
I'm Louise Pearson. I'm a social worker by training, and I work for MS Australia. I look after people with MS who are newly diagnosed and provide a bit of counselling. This is my guide dog, Voss, and he's absolutely fantastic. I was diagnosed with retinoblastoma at 11 months old. Retinoblastoma is an eye cancer, and both of my eyes were removed. I've had dealings with JobAccess for some years now. They've provided me with JAWS, which stands for Job Access with Speech. It will read to me what you see on the screen.
JobAccess is a free national service, so it's expert information and advice on any matters relating to the employment of people with disability.
Most recently, they've provided me with a fantastic device called a BrailleSense U2. It can read spreadsheets, it can do email, so it's fantastic because I'll be in a meeting, documents are being handed out, I could then open them up and have a look at them with everyone else. JobAccess have a fantastic application system. You go onto a website, you fill in your specific needs, they sent out an assessor. From there it was very quick, and I'd say within 2 weeks I had it on my desk.
Research suggests that these cognitive symptoms either stay the same over several years.
The access to this technology has made Louise more valuable to the organisation. And from my perspective, I think the services that we've been able to get through JobAccess have really helped.
We believe that it's critical to start with what the employer needs and what they're looking for in order to be able to increase employment participation in Australia for people with disability.
I absolutely would recommend JobAccess. It's a fantastic scheme. It's something that's going to make people more able to function in their workplace, and if they're at all like me, it helps to decrease the gap that exists between people who are working in the organisation without disabilities and those who have them.
JobAccess is your one-stop shop for disability employment advice and support. From the self-employed to Australia's largest companies, JobAccess and the Employment Assistance Fund benefits thousands of Australians every year. For free expert advice, call 1800 464 800 or visit jobaccess.gov.au.
Okay, next question we'll go on to is, tell me, where does the funding come from for these different things?
So it's Australian government funding. So because we deliver JobAccess under a contract with them, they provide the funding not only for us to provide this service, but also for the Employment Assistance Fund. And so that actually includes the worksite assessments that we organise and coordinate as well. And I suppose we really are a great example of a practical government investment. On a macro level, the more you spend, the more you save. And when someone with a disability is employed, as with the rest of us, you pay taxes and you obviously receive or need less benefits. And employers benefit because they're able to get the talent and productivity out of a great worker. And on a sort of a more micro level, what we're able to do with the funding helps employers, employees, and job seekers with practical and easy ways to make sure that people with disabilities gain and sustain jobs.
Okay. Wait, look, sorry for my ignorance, but how long has JobAccess been around for?
We started in July 2006, so we've been running for just over 9 years now.
Wow. And it's been federally government funded for all that time?
Yes, it has.
Wow, okay, that's pretty good for the federal government. That's really good. Like I said before, there's been fundings around for state level, and I never knew about it at the federal level, and that's really good. And some of the inclusion people in my department where I work in the state government, they didn't even know about JobAccess. So, and they're now spreading the word out there, and it's really good. A lot of people are really excited about it, so it's very good.
Yes, we try hard to spread the word, but it is always a challenge. And I think sometimes people only listen or only hear information when they need it as well. So the more it can be repeated, the better.
Yeah. Where do you actually get your clients from? Where do you think?
Well, I suppose it's from all walks of life. We assist people who are self-employed all the way through to the large government departments and large multinational employers, and also I suppose all points in between. In a lot of the cases, the disability employment service providers contact us on behalf of the job seeker or the employee, and then on other instances, it's actually the individual themselves or a family member or friend who contacts us on their behalf. Right,
okay. And how or where do you get the equipment for the clients that need it?
So I suppose the first step is that either the individual or the support networks that they work with know what they're after or have a fairly good idea of what they're after. But where they don't, that's when we organise the assessors out to the workplace to really have a good, clear look of what the barriers are and then look at what the solutions might be. And that might be a bit of trial and error. It might mean trialling a bit of equipment in the workplace first. And then they contact the suppliers and provide us with quotes. And they're many and varied, from specialist equipment and service supplies all the way through to popular brand household supplies. It all depends on really what is needed, whether it's ergonomic equipment and furniture, or whether it's software and hardware of a technological kind, or something more specific around amplification or low vision equipment. As I said before, either the employment provider, service provider or assessor sources the quotes and lets us know what they are, and we keep everyone in the loop of what that is. So when we approve the funding, we remind people who the suppliers are so that they can go and find the right piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. And then I suppose what I need to say is once we approve funding for an item, whoever applied for it, so usually either the service provider or the employer, pays for it up front, and then they seek reimbursement for that item back from us. And we can do that within 3 to 5 working days.
Yeah. To give people an idea, I recently went through this program and I got some equipment and different things. Like, there's a couple of things that I got where I got software technology and a little bit of hardware as well, from communication devices through to iPads and that sort of stuff. Right through till I got when Chris came in and he assessed my workplace, he helped me out with identifications on my lifts, because I'm part of the facilities team. I'm going up and down lifts all the time, and just the identification markings in the building, where it's a different type of lift system where you have to swipe your card and pick what level you're going to, and it'll tell you which lift to get into. Where they've got the current system, they had a black sticker writing on a silver background, so which you just could not see it. So where now they've got the building management into putting nice, bright, big, wide, bold letters to say, okay, you need to go over to that lift or that lift. So it's building materials right through the software. It's everything. So it's been a great experience for me. I know that. So, and I'm sure it'll help. And I'm sure it'll help a lot of people in the future. So, look, well, we'll go to another clip now. You've got a clip here regarding, I think it's Auslan. You've got hearing impaired people type of thing.
Yes, so, that's right.
Yeah. So we'll have a look at that one now.
Okay.
My name's Caroline Brown. I work for Australia Post and I've worked here for 7 years. I ride a motorcycle and I deliver mail. I love the freedom of riding the motorcycle outdoors. I became deaf at the age of 4 from meningitis. I'm profoundly deaf. I didn't have interpreters at the start, and we used to communicate with pen and paper, and it took me many, many months and years and not really understanding what was happening.
Hearing impaired or deaf employees have special needs. They need interpreters to be able to communicate effectively in the workplace, particularly around safety issues.
All right, guys, occupation and health and safety. Having the interpreter there who signs to them in their Auslan leaves me with the confidence knowing that they know the message that we're trying to get across.
We've streamlined our processes with the support of JobAccess to enable interpreters to come in on a regular basis so that we can improve communication for our employees and our managers.
JobAccess was established as a one-stop shop and a go-to for employers and people with disability looking to gain and sustain employment.
The most satisfying part of my role is not only seeing our managers feel confident and supported and engage people with disability, but our employees feeling included, feeling enthusiastic and talking about Australia Post as a great place to work.
We're basically looking at helping employers to say yes, making it easier for them to say yes to employing someone with a disability. Removing as many barriers as we can and making it as simple for them as possible.
JobAccess providing us with the interpreter that doesn't affect my budget. I just get the invoice off the interpreter, send it off to our diversity department, and it's taken care of.
The wider community still has a lot of learning about people with disabilities, and we've got a long way to go, but we're heading in the right direction. And the funding that we get from JobAccess is making it a lot better for deaf people within the workplace. Look, my frustration disappeared by having the interpreters in, and it's definitely made me happier.
Anybody that wants to employ a hearing impaired person, anybody with a disability, give them a go, because at the end of the day, their success is your success.
JobAccess is your one-stop shop for disability employment advice and support. From the self-employed to Australia's largest companies, JobAccess and the Employment Assistance Fund benefits thousands of Australians every year. For free expert advice, call 1800 464 800 or visit jobaccess.gov.au.
Okay, so how do people looking for a job or job seekers find you, basically? How does that part work?
Oh, okay, so how do they find us? I know how they find work, Troy, just to clarify.
Oh, look, well, both actually. Let's go down both avenues.
Well, how they find us, I think if someone is a job seeker, the way they find us is because they're usually linked in with a disability employment service provider, and they then use us as part of their resources available to them. If someone is seeking for work and they don't know what to do, we talk them through who the disability employment service providers are and how that process works. There's quite a bit of information on the website around them as well. But we then look up who is close by to where they live and let them know their contact details so that they can ring up and talk to them. Other people can get linked into a service provider by going and talking to Centrelink. But we also talk to people who may not be eligible for employment services, and we talk to them about alternative supports that might be available to them, such as career advice or where to find information about resume building and writing selection criteria. So I suppose that's where we on a broad level assist people with job seeking without, going into individual detail.
Oh, and look, I think that's so good because, like you said, helping with resumes and all that sort of stuff, because things have so much changed over the last 10 years about looking for a job. It's not just that easy anymore. You have to know the criteria and address it in certain ways. And I went through a job interview recently and I was just dumbfounded about how things have changed. Like last time I got this current job, that was like 14 years ago. And it's like, things have definitely changed since I got a job last. So, it can be very overwhelming as well. So to have that support, I think it's really, really good. So, now look, what achievements has your organisation done?
Well, I suppose the key ones are that back in 2008, we won a United Nations Public Service Award. And then in 2013, we were voted one of the top 10 most innovative products for people with disabilities internationally. And that was at something called the Project Zero conference in Vienna. I suppose if we have a look at what we've been able to achieve as a team over 9 years, we've helped with over 225,000 inquiries and received over 30,000 applications for funding. And we've referred out for around 10,000 worksite assessments. So,
that's great.
And I think what that shows to me is what we've achieved is that we've been able to make a difference in many thousands of Australians' lives.
Oh man, they're great numbers, and you're getting a foothold on the international scene as well. Is there any equal to you guys overseas? Because a lot of our podcast and listeners are from international, like New Zealand. We've got England and American people listening in to our show all the time. Is there equivalents overseas for these to your organisation?
Well, we certainly keep in touch, and we have something called an expert reference group, and we link in with particularly the UK and the US and have a talk to them about what's available. And while some people have certain things they're similar with what we can provide in Australia, from what I understand, we're really the only ones that provide as much funding as we do to remove those barriers in the workplace. We were initially, so back in 2006, we were modelled off the American service, which is called the Job Accommodation Network. But there are more of an information advice around how to ensure people are meeting their legal obligations under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and so talk to employers and individuals around that sort of language and sort of point to people about what sort of accommodations and modifications can be done in the workplace, but that's at the employer's expense, not at the federal government's expense.
What I'll get you to do is drop me an email with some links to some of those international places, and I'll put that up on our Facebook pages for our international listeners that might be interested. So. That's fine. Okay, so what we'll do is we've got one last video to look at. You've got one on mobility impaired, like is in wheelchair and that type of stuff. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
Yep.
On
so
Foy.
Okay, so we'll have a look at that one now.
Great.
My name's Hoi Nguyen, and we're at the Makeshift Studio, which is run by my organisation, Enable Development. We're currently focused on training for organisations and people to make their place or workplace more inclusive and accessible. So I have an acquired disability, and at the age of 18 months, I've contracted polio in Vietnam. And at the age of 5 or 6, I moved to Australia. And I started using a wheelchair cinch because my muscles weren't strong enough to support my weight. I suppose in terms of a challenge, it builds my experience and sense of empathy, which I use in my line of work. I suppose I see that more as an opportunity than a challenge. JobAccess has provided me with assistive devices, such as my wheelchair, which is built for travelling and work, and a height-adjustable table.
JobAccess is an Australian government initiative. It's a free information and advice service for all matters related to the employment of people with disability and mental health issues.
The chair which I'm using that's provided by JobAccess is very specialised for my line of work, which is to do a lot of travelling and getting to remote places. And these places are very challenging in terms of accessibility. Infrastructure is not really built.
It's really important and beneficial for the communities to see someone like Hoy, because then they also get to see not only someone who is taking the time to think about people with disabilities in those communities, but also they get to see someone with a disability getting out there and being really independent.
So when I found JobAccess as a potential funding body, I contacted them to get an idea of what they would fund, and then from there they would send out an occupational therapist to assess my situation and to provide further input where necessary.
The process in terms of getting some financial assistance to fund modifications or adjustments in the workplace is really straightforward, and we have a team of advisors on the end of the phone ready to help.
I would definitely recommend JobAccess to others in a similar situation, especially self-employment, because it really accelerates, I suppose, the goals that we set out to achieve, and it really is an enabler to be able to establish work for yourself.
JobAccess is your one-stop shop for disability employment advice and support. From the self-employed to Australia's largest companies, JobAccess and the Employment Assistance Fund benefits thousands of Australians every year. For free expert advice, call 1800 464 800 or visit jobaccess.gov.au.
Okay, so look, it's been really good. Now, to finish off, how we'll definitely put all our information up on our websites and our Facebooks and all that sort of stuff. But how do people contact you?
Oh, I suppose that's very important information, isn't it? I suppose the easiest way to get hold of us is to call us. We're available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's a free call number, and it's 1-800-464-800. Or you can look us up on our website, which is www.jobaccess.gov.au.
Okay. Look, one of the questions I did forget to ask you is in where do you see JobAccess going in the future? Is there any big strides you're looking at, going in the future?
Well, I do know that in the federal budget there was conversation around something called the JobAccess Gateway, which is sort of enlarging what the current contract does. But that's all I know at this point in time. I don't know. I just know that the future is bright and we will certainly be there, but we haven't been told what that might look like yet.
Okay, good. All right, Nicola, thank you very much for your time with us on this Showcase edition.
A pleasure.
Where we showcase the ability in disability.
That's fine. I really enjoyed having a chat to you, Troy.
Thank you very much.
This is DSN TV, showcasing the ability in disability, proudly brought to you by the PA people.